Is it an airport cologne bottle or a whiskey? We're about to find out. We're tasting a 1969 bottling of Carrington whiskey from Carrington Distillers, distilled in Calgary, Alberta. And I'm with John, the whiskey neighbor. How you doing, John?
Pretty good, James. Thanks for having me back. This Dusty series is so fun because, you know, whiskey certainly was released for a different market back in the day. And in '69, people's palates were different than they are today. So I'm very curious to see how this Canadian whiskey turns out.
Absolutely true. I can't wait.
You know, I did a quick search online to see if I could find anything more about the distillery, but aside from what you just said, you know, put out in Calgary, Alberta, which, you know, Alberta Premium was around back then. Alberta Distillers, sorry. Alberta Premium is one of their products, but Alberta Distillers. So I wondered if they, you know, were a distiller near them that got bought up, or if it was actually from Alberta Distillers. I don't know.
Interesting, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it tastes like it. Maybe we'll know.
Well, maybe we'll be able to tell. And again, if anyone, you know, watching knows a bit more insight, I love comments when they come in and give us some backstory that we just don't have. So
thank you for that.
All right, let's try the nose. Well, this is a 40% whiskey, is that right?
I believe so. There's nearly nothing on the box.
Nothing on the box.
40%, yeah.
Okay.
Carrington Distillers Limited, Calgary, Canada.
This is very light for me. That's why I was wondering what the ABV is. It's very light.
Reminds me of other Canadian whiskeys bottled around the same time.
Okay.
Like there's next to no nose besides caramel and alcohol.
Well, it could be a feature of it's not our first pour of whiskey, but the alcohol note is not as strong as what was that first Dusty that we poured?
The Gibsons? Or the Jack Daniels?
The Gibson was richer. I'm going all the way back to the Jack Daniels. Now that's not Canadian, of course, but that one to me had a ton of ethanol on it. Yeah. This isn't as strong for me on the nose.
I'm going to expand on the caramel a little bit. And there's a little bit of maple syrup in there. There's a darker note on the caramel, like the sweetness, almost like it's burnt.
But sometimes when I'm thinking that burnt caramel or burnt sugars, that's a really good note for me in the sense of cooked baking or spilled over cinnamon bun, and I'm not getting any of the associated notes with that. I'm not really getting any of the pastry backing or the cinnamons. So yeah, maybe pretty cooked sugars, but not a lot of richness to that for me.
Yeah. Want to taste it?
Sure. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, I think as we kind of tried to walk through the nose and get more notes, and aside from caramels and some light sugars, or maybe you got a bit of burnt sugars in there, for me the palate's quite similar to what I would say a Canadian blended whiskey is. It's not heavy in leaning into oaks. It's not heavy into spicing. I think it's been put together to be broadly appealing. It's relaxed. It's a little bit thin in the palate, but it would go down pretty easily. I think for many people, except for maybe the alcohol notes that just keep kicking around, like just that raw alcohol.
You know, this reminds me a lot of an early bottling of Canadian Club that we had while it was like still under the Seagram's brand, where it just tastes like burnt caramel.
Okay.
There's a little bit of like a darker brown sugar in here than just saying caramel.
Now, does that darker note play into a bit of bitterness for you?
Not in the way that I would expect it to come from a barrel.
Okay.
It reminds me more of maple syrup.
Okay. Well, actually, I like maple syrup notes and I like cooked caramels. I'm not getting as much that on this that I think you are. So, okay. For me, it's relaxed. It's not that offensive. It's just not really pulling me in one way or another. Still awesome to be able to reach back into time and taste, a 1969 bottling of Canadian whiskey. That's a special treat. So I really appreciate that.
You know, if this wasn't such a rare bottle, I could see myself just drinking this with a little bit of soda.
Yeah.
It's a good like whiskey and soda.
Yeah. I would totally agree. I think it would hold up well with that.
Yep.
Well, I'm not sure if you're going to get another round of notes, but for me, nice light whiskey, but not a lot of notes to carry home.
I'd agree with that. Cheers.
Cheers.